And we are live. We are live. Good morning, folks, and good welcome to Mark's morning business check-in. It's Friday. Sorry, it's Thursday. It's Thursday, the 12th of February. It's a wet day out there. It's raining. Looks like it'll be raining for most of the day. Temperatures in Dublin is at 7 degrees, and the temperature in London is also around 7 degrees, and Paris is the same. But this is not your morning weather forecast. But when you're out there, just make sure you're careful because the weather is not great. As I said, the weather is not great whatsoever. So now, so that we're live. As I said to you, we go live every weekday from 7:30 a.m. and talking about my experience in business, running my own companies or running other people's companies for the last 30 odd years, telling you about stuff that did not work for me, to make sure that you don't make the same mistake, and also telling you stuff that did work for me that may work for you. And one thing I want to talk to you about this morning is about standing out from the crowd. Marketing, advertising, what you want to call it, social media. Nothing really has changed in the last 50 or 60 years when it comes to marketing. Because marketing is still all about getting people to know that you and your brand are alive, you and your brand are for sale, that your products out there, your services out there. Nothing has changed. What has changed is how we communicate with people. Or has it? I want to tell you a very good story about someone in advertising, someone that I bought the good advertising man, not a great businessman. He once had Guinnesses coming in to present to him, and they wanted to win the Guinness account. And the problem is they were a small agency, and to win the Guinness's account, they needed to show that they were different, and they weren't sure how they were going to do this. And they were different. Like they used to do the ads for Brennan's Breads and Tamangos and all a load of other brands that some people may remember, may not remember. Suzuki Malta Tourism Board, which I won for them. So they wanted to win the Guinness account, because as you can appreciate, having the Guinness account on your portfolio of customers was going to be fantastic, absolutely brilliant. So the Guinness executives came in, and it was a winter morning. The Guinness executives came in to the office, and after a few minutes, they were shown up to the boardroom, and the boardroom was on the second floor of an old Georgian house. That's where the advertising agency was. And as they went in, the MD took each one of their heavy coats, their overcoats, which were all expensive overcoats. They're all extremely expensive, as you can imagine. These are senior executives in Guinness's. They're on good money, so they spent good money on their overcoats. And it was lashing raining outside. So the boss took each one of those Guinness's representatives' coats, walked over to the window, opened the window, and was proceeded then to drop each coat, and they're all Crombies, out the window. And the executives stood there, mouths wide open, gobsmacked. Because these coats were worth 8 to 900, probably up to 1,500 in today's money, in euros or sterling. They were expensive overcoats. So he dropped them out the window and then proceeded to do the Guinness presentation. I go through the whole Guinness presentation. I'm saying goodbye to my grandson, saying the whole Guinness presentation. He did the whole lot, and he thought it went fantastic. But of course, the Guinness people kept looking towards the window because it's lashing raining out, and their good Crombie coats had been thrown out the window. At the end of the whole thing, the boss stood up and thanked all the Guinness people for coming in, and thank you very much for coming here today. We really appreciate you giving me the opportunity and this agency to pitch for your business. And as they walked down the stairs, they went back into reception, and there was someone waiting to hand them back their coats. What they had done was they had someone outside the window who caught the coats as they were dropped one by one. So they never touched the ground, they never got wet. And then the boss came up behind the executives and said, See, that's why we are different as an agency. You'll always remember you had come to us for a pitch, and that's what we can do for your brand. So he was showing them how he as an agency was different to all the other agencies and the bigger agencies, and how he could help their brand stand out. And that was his way of showing in a world where at that stage everything was done, advertising was done by television and some radio and newspapers, right? So he was showing how he could help their brand stand out. Now, the challenge with you, with your company, is how do you make your brand stand out? How do you make people remember you? We all see the likes of, in Ireland, you see stars, and on their ad they have, as seen on the Late Late Show. They were on the Late Late Show about 45 years ago, but they still have that on their ad, as seen on the Late Late Show. And the reason probably is that I don't look at the Late Late Show every week. It's very rare I look at the Late Late Show. So I don't know if they were on it last week, last month, or 40 years ago. All I know is their company was on a Late Late Show. There's an Indian restaurant not far from where I am, and they say in all the takeaway menus, as seen on RTE, The Great Takeaway Chase. It was a program seeing how quick could a chef cook a takeaway meal compared to the restaurant as soon as it was placed, right? So people do things and try and get into certain medias to make the brand stand out. And the challenge for yourself is, how do you do it? Another place near that during COVID in Dublin was called the White Horse, or the White Moose, which used to do fantastic sandwiches and fantastic breakfast rolls and all that. And they used to do an awful lot of guerrilla marketing. They didn't have much money, so they did guerrilla marketing, come up with crazy ideas and crazy slogans, all that type of stuff that make themselves stand out and go viral on TikTok, on Instagram, and on TikTok, but mainly on Instagram and Facebook. So they can try to come up with ways to make themselves stand out. And Ryanair is exactly the same. Ryanair will take something that's happened. We've seen it when different things have happened and they've done crazy ads. Like we recently was Elon Musk was giving out about Ryanair not taking his Starlight system to put on all the planes, and Michael O'Leary explained that it'd be too costly because of the cost of putting them on the planes and the cost of fuel with the air pull as the planes go through the air. But they did a crazy guerrilla marketing advertisement mocking Musk and saying why Ryanair are best. So you don't have to spend a fortune to get your brand out there and to get people to know that your brand is out there. What you do have to do is be clever. And that's the thing. You need to be clever in how you get yourself out there. Number one, if you're a local business, do you put leaflets in all the takeaways and everywhere where people can find you, like the nail bars and the hairdressers? That could be your way of marketing your business if you're only operating in a local area. And of course, then you have business cards. We see an awful lot of people leaving business cards at different businesses for you to take. Or it could be posters in local post offices. As your business get bigger, it could be ads on billboards. It could be ads on buses. It could be ads in the cinema. And there's certain types of advertising that is still very cheap. If you have a few bob, the likes of advertising at train stations in Ireland, and this may not be the case in the UK because the tubes are very busy. There's an awful lot of people not advertising on them locations now. And you can see that by the amount of ads that are still there weeks after the promotion is over. So if you shop around, you could get deals on certain things. Radio is still expensive. And the radio is still expensive. But even if you had the money to advertise on radio tomorrow, the big challenge for you is, what is your slogan? What are you going to say to people that they will remember you? Anybody on TikTok, if you can hear me, can you just put your hands up to make sure my mic is working? So the big challenge for you is come up with a slogan or a logo or some type of message that makes your brand stand out from the rest. And that is a challenge that Everyone faces in business. Everyone wants to stand out in different ways. And sometimes people do clever things that are not clever. They may think they're clever to them, but when they actually put it into practice, the marketing advertising is not working. And yes, an awful lot of people now just turn to social media. Sadly, an awful lot of people believe the only way to market a business is through social media, which is not always the case. But even marketing to social media, I was involved with someone very recently, and they were doing free webinars. This was last year, and they were so delighted that they were getting maybe 400 or 500 or 600 or 1,000 people to sign up for their free webinar. But the problem was, when the free webinar came round, of those thousands, maybe 250, maybe 300 will come to the free webinar. But then, of those who came to the free webinar, the sign up for the product or service was extremely low. But some people were getting excited because the amount of people wanting to come to the webinar, signing up for it in the first place, was really high. But that did not translate into sales. In a lot of cases, it translated into zero sales. And once again, if anybody can hear me on TikTok, if you can put your hand, give me a sign that you can actually hear me on TikTok, because this is a new mic, I appreciate it. So just because you have 1,000 or 2,000 people signing up for your webinar doesn't mean it's going to translate into sales. Just because you have a database of 2, 3, or 400 of 2 or 3, 4,000 people that you email once a week doesn't mean it's going to translate into business. It just doesn't. If you take an electrician advertising in an estate of maybe 500 homes, he may do very well today because it just so happens that a lot of people on that road want new plugs or want new wiring or want something added into their home. However, he could hit them on a day when nobody there wants any electrical work done. Nobody wants any new plugs, any rewiring, any heating appliances added. They don't want anything done. So his leaflet drop has been a waste of time. Because most people then will throw that leaflet in the post because at that moment in time, it does not interest them. And that's the problem with marketing. And that's the challenge with marketing. It's like letting off a shotgun. We have all these pellets going out in all different ways. You may get lucky and hit something at the right time, in the right place, for someone who wants your service or wants your product. But most of the time, the buckshot is going everywhere and hitting nothing. And that's the thing with marketing. You could spend €10 now on Facebook this evening, and you could get £10,000 worth of business from that. Or you could spend €100 or £1,000 on Facebook this evening on advertisement and get zero return. And that's just the way it works. I remember years ago when I was running my bookkeeping company, myself and Anne-Marie, it was mainly Anne-Marie's business, she want me to say that, had a bookkeeping company. And one of the ways we got business, and we got some serious business, was running a small ad on the back of the Irish Times. On the back of the Irish Times used to be small ads. And that's because I was told that most business people don't have time to read the ads within the paper. So they look at the ads in the back of it, because they felt the ads in the back of the Irish Times that the companies advertising there were of a higher quality. And that they provided a higher quality service than the people advertising within the paper. And I won some serious business from some very large companies, and we were only a two-man operation at that stage, but we didn't tell them we were a two-man operation. And because we were advertising in the back of the Irish Times, people assumed we were a bigger company than we were, and we won a lot of good business. We won a lot of fantastic business from a few ads in the back of the Irish Times. And one piece of business kept going for a good few years and brought in a lot of revenue to us. Right? But other times I've ran ads in the back of the Irish Times and we've got no business from it. So marketing is all about hitting the right area, the right people at the right time. But the other thing you have to remember is you have to have a message that they can remember. whether it's a slogan or whether it's an image. You have to have something that they can remember you by, whether it's your yellow vans. Anyone remembers when we used to collect DVDs, to remember what X-Vision looked like, or Blockbusters in the States. Everyone knows the sound of Netflix when you switch it on. Everyone remembers the sound of Intel with the chip inside. They all had a particular sound, a particular ring that when the ad came on, or when you would switch Netflix on now, it makes a certain sound. Everyone knows the smiling symbol for Amazon. Amazon don't even have to put the words Amazon on the boxes anymore. They just put the smile. And you know it's Amazon. So there's a lot of brands on that. Nike's the same. There's a lot of brands out there who have worked very hard and invested a lot of money into making you remember who they are without saying very much. Now, you as a small business owner, you don't have the budget for that at the moment. So when you're out there advertising your product, you need to ask yourself the first question when your budget is small. Where does your market eat, drink, and go to? If you're marketing a product that's aimed at women, then maybe nail bars and ladies' hairdressers is the place you should be. Because that's where people go, people wait, people see stuff. Or maybe if you're marketing a product just for men, then looks at barbers and stuff like that. So you need to decide where, and do a bit of research, the people who you sell to, where do they shop, where do they go, and where will you catch them? Years ago, people used to stick leaflets in cars in certain shopping centres to let them know we're in the area now doing installs for cable TV. So you need to be very careful and don't waste money. And if you're doing it on social media, keep the budget low. And one thing that all the social media platforms allow you to do now is you can test different versions of your ad and spend a bit of time on YouTube teaching yourself how Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, and TikTok ads all work. Look at a few case studies. Do a few variations of your ad. And if one works really well, bleed the hell out of it. Run it like mad. If you find that one way of advertising works for you, drop everything else and zoom in on it. Just keep focused on it and just put your money into that marketing. When we had the advertising agency, we spent a lot of money on billboards with myself on them. When we launched our online superstore, the first superstore, I know it was hard to believe anyone would listen, going back that far. There was nobody else really selling online because as part of the whole process, I brought WorldPay into Ireland so that we could actually have a company there that could process credit cards. So I brought them into Ireland as well. But like the message we had, the Indigo slogan, and it was challenged a good few times, was the internet is indigo. That was our slogan. Because we were trying to tell people there's only one internet company and we're it. And we had people write to the advertising authority saying the internet is not indigo. The internet is a wire going through the ground or overhead, coming into people's homes. And at that stage, it was coming through telephone lines. But the advertising agency said, our authority said, well, no one can say the internet, that the wire isn't a certain colour inside. They couldn't find fault with what we said, that we said the internet is indigo. So when you're doing your own marketing plan, if you're starting off, don't get a rush of blood to the head and start spending stupid money in stupid places. One of the big things I always say to people is look at what your competitors are doing. Where are they advertising? What do you think is working for them? If you see one of your competitors always in the same place every week or every day or every month, then you need to ask yourself, if they're there every day, every week or every month, it must be working for them. They must get some return from it. Unless they have buckets of money and they don't care, which most companies do care. They like to see a return on their investment. So if you see someone who's in competition with you advertising on social media or on certain websites or on certain platforms, maybe you should take a very close look of their ad, what they're saying, and who they're saying it to. And maybe then you should take their ad and make it your ad and change it for yourself, but keep the main message the same. Copying is no harm. If it's working for somebody else, there's nothing wrong with copying it. There's a huge amount of companies out there who are very successful, who are copying what other people do. Virgin do it, right? Other companies do it. If something works and is working for somebody else, why reinvent the wheel? Copy what they're doing with your own name. Because if it starts to bring in business, it starts to work, then it's achieving your marketing goal, your advertising goal, which is getting new business, new customers, more revenue into your business. And that's what it's all about, right? So don't go off the wall spending crazy money. As I said, and I'm talking to two people today who I mentioned, and I always say, copy, copy, copy. And for one of them, it's working fantastic. They were losing money in the marketing, they were losing money in advertising. They've now changed their philosophy. They're now copying their competitors, the top 2 or 3 competitors, and looking at what they're doing and where the marketing is, and even what type of the offering they're doing to customers. And they're offering the same offering and maybe tweaking it to make it better, but they're winning. They're getting the revenue, they're getting the turnover. Okay? So copy, copy, copy. Anyway, folks, that's all for this week. Oh, sorry for today. I keep thinking today's Friday. It's not. That's just wishful thinking. Tomorrow's Friday. So I hope you join me tomorrow morning, and thanks for joining me this morning. Whether you're listening to me live, now it's now 7:52 on Thursday morning, or you're listening to playback on YouTube or on our podcast. All our shows are on a podcast on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Just type in the words Mark Beggs and the podcast will come up for you. Every show since the 6th of January is up there as a podcast. And we've also interviews with some fantastic entrepreneurs on our YouTube site. So if you just go to our YouTube site, at Mind's Eye Education, you can get a copy of all our past shows. We have an awful lot of free videos up there. We have stuff about dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, autism. There's an awful lot of free information up there and free videos and sales training videos on our YouTube site. Just make sure you subscribe. Or you can go to our website. Our website is mindseyeeducation.com. So for everyone on Instagram, on LinkedIn and YouTube, we're going to say goodbye to you this morning. We're going to stay live on TikTok for a few more minutes. So to everybody else, thanks for joining me this morning. I really appreciate your time. I'm very grateful that you're giving up the time to listen to this show, whether it's live or on playback. It's very much appreciated. I'm Mark Beggs, and if you need to contact me, it's markbeggs@gmail.com. Thank you.